Hello, how are you doing? Welcome to the 9th episode of Haverin. In this episode, I'm speaking with Gilday, who is a poet, a performer, a theatre maker, a writer, and we'll be speaking about his fringe show Suffering from Scottishness, which you can catch at 5:10 at Assembly Roxy. Had a really good conversation. We talk about the Scottish identity, independence, and some of the themes that run through his show. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. Thank you. Okay, Kevin, thanks for coming on the podcast, mate.
Thank you very much, yeah.
How you doing?
I'm good, yes. I'm slightly exhausted. I'm feeling a wee bit battered with the fringe, but I'm okay. It's week 2. The show's been doing alright. I'm trying to just plough through and just keep going with it.
Yeah, I caught the show last night. Really enjoyed it. Loved it.
Thank you so much. Thanks very much for coming along.
No, it was a lot of fun. Why don't you just begin by kind of introducing the show in your own words?
Yeah, so the show is called Suffering from Scottishness, and it is, I like to say it's a bit of immersive theatre in the way that for the whole kind of length of the show, we're kind of in this world and the audience is part of that world. But it's also a wee bit of a dark comedy, and it's a kind of, in some ways it's a weird kind of one-man cabaret show as well, because I do a wee bit of different things in it. I do a wee bit of poetry and a wee bit of singing. And,
beautiful voice as well, I might say.
Thank you very much, and unfortunately a wee bit of dancing as well. But so there's loads of different things mixed in there. But the main concept is that it's a show that's kind of delving into the minutiae of Scottish identity. And well, you saw the thing is it's a big concept piece, really. And the concept being that I am a kind of consultation rep for a fictitious government department that has popped up after Brexit, and we are making the first ever Scottish citizenship test, which I then ask the audience to help me out with. And it all starts to kind of unravel from that point forward, which is really fun to do, actually.
Yeah. And what made you choose this subject of Scottish identity?
I think it's something I just wanted to write about for a very long time, actually, and I had always had it in the back of my head, I'm going to do something about Scottish identity. The first thing that made me want to do it is that I had never really felt properly Scottish until I was an adult, which is weird. Like when I was a kid, in the kind of the character in the show has a similar journey, that when I was a kid it was like I wasn't quite sure if I was Scottish or what I was, because I kind of came from that kind of west of Scotland, Irish, Catholic, working class background, where it was like, yeah, you're born in Scotland, but also here's your Republic of Ireland top to wear during the summer, and you end up supporting Ireland at World Cups, and you're going to concerts where people are singing Irish rebel songs, and it's like, okay, there's a thing going on there. It's like, am I this or am I this? And I always felt kind of in between them, and I felt that's something that I wanted to explore. The second thing that happened was the referendum in 2014, where suddenly everything kind of came into focus, and I felt like, oh wow, there's something I want here out of this country. There's something I feel like it can give to me and I can give to it, and there was a sudden realisation that the Scotland that I kind of wanted to live in was possible, and before that point it hadn't felt possible, and that was really exciting. So that was the second thing. The third thing was I lived in Barcelona for like a year a few years ago, and it's very interesting when you live in another country, as you've done as well, where if I'm here, like what's my defining features? Is it my face? Is it my job? Is it the way I talk? What's the defining feature? The minute you move somewhere else, it's like, oh, that's a Scottish guy. That's like the one defining feature when you're in another country. It's like you are then defined by your entire nationality rather than your personality within that. And I thought that was really interesting, and how that shifted depending on where I was. So in Barcelona it was like, this Scottish guy, Scotland is cool. If I'm in England, that's a different thing altogether. If I'm in France, it's different again. I felt there was something in there that I wanted to kind of tease out and kind of talk about, but in a universal way that hopefully everybody could relate to.
Oh, for sure, and it definitely seemed that in the audience last night there was people from all different kind of nationalities that were tapping into that. So the show takes place within the frame of coming up with this citizenship test.
Yeah.
Now you pick, I think, is it 7 different things?
I think it's 6 or 7.
Six or seven. Can you, I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you remember what those are, and can you kind of maybe say why you chose those?
So, I mean, there was lots more at the start of the process. I mean, I must have had about 15 or something at the start of the process, and I ended up just having to whittle them down to what questions would we ask. So the first one is kind of about Scottish inventors and inventions, which is a fun way into it, because I feel like as a country we're always pretty much showing off that what we've invented and what we've done and what we've given to the world. Even though half of it's probably not strictly true, but we're definitely always the first to say, oh, we invented that. So I kind of wanted to get into that and have a wee chat about that and have a bit of fun with that as well. I thought that was a nice way into it. So yeah, that's the first question, is about inventions. The second question is about bravery. Are you brave enough to be Scottish? Which again feels a wee bit ridiculous and is kind of sending up the stereotypes and the ideals of what people think it's like to be Scottish, that we're all kind of massive kind of burly men that are
warriors.
ready to fight for our freedom at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
And it's like, you've clearly never been to the Sucky Hall Street on a Friday night. Do you know what I mean? That's not the case. So yeah, after that, kind of goes a wee bit left field, and I start talking about the concept of Caledonian Antisyzygy.
I want to come back to this one. Yeah,
which is very interesting, and is a concept that I didn't know until we started kind of developing the show, and it came up. And suddenly when it came up, I was like, that's it. That's the thing that I've been wanting to talk about. I just didn't know it had a name up until this point. So after that, we have a bit about the Scottish language, and then we have a bit about the Scottish condition, or the Scottish cringe, and then we end up talking about alcohol and Scotland's relationship with alcohol. So it goes on a bit of a journey. It's up and down. Some of that's really fun, and some of it's quite serious, and some of it's quite kind of, getting into the nitty-gritty of Scottish culture and society as well. But yeah, I think that hopefully whoever comes to see it, wherever they're from, they'll be able to find a universal meaning in it as well. Because the show is about Scotland, about Scottish identity, but I want people to come away thinking, does that relate to me as a American or a Canadian or a Frenchman or an Italian or whatever? Because I think that lots of those concepts are big universal concepts that we can kind of get behind and think about as an entire civilization.
No, I think that's really important. So yeah, the one that really kind of appealed to me, partly because it's one of those things that, I've seen mentioned here or there. Yeah. It's popped up, and I think Hamish Henderson might have talked about it, Scottish poet, or I've definitely heard it referenced in various bits, and maybe went and looked about it on Wikipedia here or there, but not actually delved into it. So what is the Caledonian Antisyzygy?
So it's this idea that if you're Scottish, you're kind of two things at any one time, that we hold two opposing concepts within us at any one time, and as people, but also as a society. So I mean, the kind of examples I use in the show are, we're a country that is Catholic and Protestant. We're a country that is kind of split between these two massive cities that are really close but so completely different, Glasgow and Edinburgh. Obviously in our literature it comes up, Jekyll and Hyde, but in the same way there's Highlands and Lowlands, and for me, I think that once I delved into it, I was like, oh, but that actually is part of the inequality of the country as well. That's the wealthy and the poor. That's the people that live in the posh flats and the people that are living in the slums. That's the kind of the split personality of the country. So once I worked out that this concept existed and that it's actually been talked about, I was like, okay, that's interesting, and that's something I want to tell the audience about, but hopefully in a entertaining as well as educational way.
Yeah. And I guess it comes up in psychology as well, because the Scottish psyche maybe internalises that split a little.
Yeah, I think so, because I don't think any other country quite has that thing where they feel like they're kind of struggling between two things at once. And once you put a name to it and once you're aware of it, it actually seems to be pretty consistent in just about everything in Scottish culture. Do you know what I mean? Even in our sports, this pride and failure are like inextricably linked concepts. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just incredible to see that in all facets of society. But yeah, in the show, it's kind of, I wanted to kind of tell the audience about it because I don't think many people know about it. But I also wanted to kind of say, is this us? Is this what we want in the future? And obviously at the end of each section, the audience get to vote. So there's that interactive element. Are the audience accepting this or are they rejecting it?
Yeah, no, I really like that aspect to the show, because I quite like immersive theatre. What was it that made you want to do the show like that?
It felt like there was no point in me just having a conversation with myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could have done that and people could have sat and watched it, and I'm sure I could have made it vaguely entertaining, but it's like when we're talking about something so big that is affecting everybody, that is kind of part of society, it seems like it would be kind of counterproductive for me to then just have that conversation with myself instead of having that conversation with the audience. So it's amazing because every night we're creating this kind of bespoke document that changes every night depending on the whims of the audience, and people shout out different things and people get angry about certain things and people get excited about things, and I kind of have to roll with all of that stuff, and then we end up making this kind of amazing one-off document together as a group. So yeah, it's pretty exciting doing that actually.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So prior to yourself, I've spoken with Colin Bramwell and Layla Josephine.
Yeah.
And something I've asked both of them as well is how much of them there is in the character that they create. So the guy on stage, his name is it Joe?
It's Joe.
It's Joe. Yeah. So how much Kevin is in Joe and how much Joe is in Kevin?
I think there's probably too much Kevin in Joe. Yeah, I mean the first couple of drafts of the show, it wasn't just me playing me,
right?
But there was a few of the concepts and a few of the big personal bits that I was like, I kind of need to get a bit of distance from that to be able to tell a different story. So I kind of invented the character of Joe, and he's actually quite different to me. He's very enthusiastic and very naive and very kind of fun. And I'm much more chilled out and kind of relaxed, and he's very energetic, and I'm not known for my energy. So it was fun to kind of create this character who was quite different from me, but is tapping into a lot of the things that I feel, and is going on a lot of the similar journeys that I've been on, but he's kind of having to go on them in his own way because of that. So yeah, Joe's kind of, I don't know, he seems like a kind of nice version of me. And that's a kind of lovely thing to play for an hour every day.
No,
this
for sure.
kind of chilled out, kind of energetic version of yourself that's not worried about ticket sales.
Yeah. And what's your kind of creative process? Do you start with a topic and think about the best way to put that topic across, or do you start with kind of a piece of work? What is it that you like to do?
With this, it was definitely the themes were there, but not the framework. So I was lucky enough to spend a couple of weeks at the National Theatre of Scotland headquarters in Glasgow. They kind of gave me a room there, which was super nice of them, and I spent a couple of weeks just developing it and just playing with these things and playing with these concepts, and my directors Drew and Kat were in as well, so we kind of done lots of weird things. We made lots of tables and graphs and bar charts of Scottishness, and kind of had them like plastered up around the walls, trying to work out what is it that we want to say and how's the best way to say it. And there was lots of different kind of concepts emerging, but when we kind of thought about this concept of the citizenship test, once we worked that one out, I was like, that's it, because it kind of contains everything that I wanted to do in one very nice, neat package that I can then kind of rip apart a wee bit as I go on, because it starts so nice and it starts so kind of, this is what we're doing, and this is it's in a box and you're the focus group. And then I really like as a performer and as a writer to take a concept and then just start kind of slowly destroying it throughout the hour until
chipping away at it.
Until you get to the end and you're like, what, is this still the same thing that we started with? So it was exciting to kind of do that, and the process had been kind of slow and really kind of taking my time in the development. But then once we got the concept, it was just redrafting and redrafting. I think the show just now is about draft 10 or 11 or something, so it just kept going and kept changing as it went.
And was this a departure from some of the other work that you've done previously, or is this kind of in the same, what's your other kind of background?
No, I think it is. It's definitely a departure. I think that this is the first show that I'd say isn't a spoken word show, or isn't a spoken word theatre show. I'd kind of started with, a long time ago I'd done a show called Notes from a Quarter Life Crisis. So that was just me reading poems for an hour. They were very tenuously linked together to tell a wee story. The show after that was The Man Who Loved Beer, which again was a kind of spoken word show, just lots of poems, but that had a bit more of a link and a bit more of a story throughout it, so I was kind of learning from that one. And after that was Gigantic Lion Mouth, which was kind of a bit more similar to this, but it was almost like a two-hander with a invisible person that was interrupted by poetry.
Right.
So that one, basically I've been putting less and less poems in the shows as I go. so I think I went from about 15 poems to about 8 to, I think there's only 3 in this one. So I've been slowly kind of putting less poetry in it and just putting a bit more performance in it and putting a bit more me in it, and trusting myself with the acting and the performing and the monologues as well now.
Oh, definitely. Something that's came up on this podcast a few times. I've spoken to Jack Foster, who wrote a book about the independence, Catch 2014, about the independence campaign and kind of what went wrong. Spoken with Bonnie Prince Bob, who's a filmmaker and an artist, and he kind of critiqued some of the kind of Scotland post-referendum. Loki made similar comments. And I just wanted to ask, because Scottish independence it does run throughout the show. Yeah. It's obviously a big part of it. How do you feel about where Scotland is right now post referendum?
I think one of the main things that I wanted to put in the show and critique was the way that the debate has just went to shit. It's just awful. Yeah.
Especially comparing to what it was during the time.
Exactly. But it's like people don't remember that it was good. People were very openly just debating things, and it was nice, and it was like, fair enough, it would get heated and stuff, but there was nuance to it. Yeah. People were talking about actual issues. What are these issues? How would we solve them? How would we do that in an independent Scotland? Would we be better doing it ourselves than if we stayed here? There was actual meaning to it, whereas now there's no meaning to it. It's just brutal, uncompromising tribalism, and it's so demoralising to watch. Yeah. And you've seen the rise of these kind of charismatic figures who have kind of became massive figureheads for it as well. I mean, people like Wings Over Scotland, it's fucking embarrassing.
It's a nightmare.
And it's just, that's what happens when you lose sight of why you wanted to do it. And that's what's happened. People don't care about why anymore. They only care about how.
Yeah.
They only care about doing it. They just want to win. And it's like, well, if you do win and you do get it, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, what next?
Because that's the point. It's like the winning it, that isn't the victory, that isn't what you get. It's the outcome of it. That's what's to be won. It's a fairer, more equal society. That's the prize that we're trying to get, or at least that's the prize I thought we were trying to get. But it feels like that's been lost in amongst all this bluster. And see, the minute a debate happens on Twitter and someone says, hey, we've got an issue with this. I mean, recently we've got an issue with drug deaths, and then someone says, hey, don't bring that up just now, we'll get independence first, then we'll sort it out. So that is the most reductive, fucking stupid opinion. Let's just leave it just now. Let's just leave people to die of whatever is happening in society, and we'll get independence, and then we'll sort it all out after that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You can't just stick your head in the sand and pretend that these things aren't actually happening right now.
100%.
And yeah, it's so demoralising to see it happening, to that debate that was actually a lively, engaged discussion, and is now just these people at two separate ends of the spectrum throwing shit at each other while not engaging in any of the actual issues in the middle that are affecting real people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Brilliant. And not to ask you to come up with all the answers right here, right now, but what do you think can be done about that? Do you think we can claim back that fertile ground for a more productive debate?
Yeah, I think that we need to win back the independence campaign and the yes movement, or whatever you want to call it, from fucking nutcases. Like, we need to win it back from people who are just mad bastards, who are just wanting to march about with soul tires and tell you that everything's great, and to idolise politicians who, it's like, yeah, we can say Nicola Sturgeon's a pretty good politician, blah blah blah, she's still a politician. Do you know what I mean? It's like, still need to treat these people with, suspicion.
Yeah.
Because they've got a career and it's based on lying to you for the most part. We need to be going back to the roots of it and talking to each other and talking about the issues that matter. And I really hope that this show can be a start for some people to actually re-engage with the thought of, what do I want Scotland to look like in the future?
Yeah, that really came across during the show. And the show, what I like about the show, it seems to be the start of a conversation. It's not giving any kind of clear cut answers to say this is how it is, or that.
No.
It's kind of prompting us to engage with these different things that you raise, and to kind of to carry on the conversation. Yeah,
but I mean the journey of Joe, the main character, is from one of these kind of hardcore nationalist guys to kind of realising that that's dead. That whatever it is you're clinging on to, it can't be that. It needs to be something bigger and more inclusive, and something that is open rather than closed. Because the minute you make it this club, the minute you make it this is the 45, we're the 45, and it's like, well, 45 isn't enough, so maybe don't make that an exclusive club. Do you know what I mean? Maybe open that up. Jesus Christ. But yeah, the journey that Joe's on, from being this kind of hardcore nationalist to realising that all the faults that have happened since 2014, and the fact that it's not tenable to hold this kind of exclusive position anymore, that it needs to be open and it needs to be inclusive and it needs to be a conversation. And by the end of the show, it's like, he's saying all these statistics about Scotland, and he's wanting to rip it up and start again and re-engage and start that conversation. So I really hope that people go away from it, especially people who are maybe think themselves as nationalists or think of themselves as part of the independence or yes movement. I hope they'll come up to the show, but also come away from the show kind of feeling that, they might need to rethink and re-engage with the big issues and what's happening.
Oh, for sure. And I think if they do come and see the show, it'll definitely prompt that kind of reaction from them.
Yeah.
Listen, mate, I could sit here and talk to you for hours about this stuff. I really could. It's fascinating. I've really enjoyed the conversation, but I'm trying to keep these nice and snappy.
No worries.
So why don't you tell people where they can catch you at the Fringe?
Yeah, so it's Suffering from Scottishness. It's on at Assembly Roxy, and it's on at 5:10 every day apart from Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And it's on right till the 26th. So please, come get a ticket. It's not too expensive. It's not a big venue. It's very intimate, and it'll be good fun, and you'll be part of, hopefully, the start of a conversation.
100%.
Cheers, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, how you doing? Thank you so much for watching this episode of Haverin. If you enjoyed it, then please share it with your family and friends on social media. Leave us a review on iTunes and subscribe to us on both iTunes and YouTube. Thanks so much.